Hey guys, welcome to Ecclesia number 9. Hopefully you guys had a good last 2 weeks and this week is going well. I'm glad to have you back for those of you guys who have joined last AMA. As you know, in the previous AMA, we talked about all the apps. We talked about Atlas, Vault, Bolt, and Blimp, Chemni, and Chalk. And now what I want to do is reveal the character, the leaderboard, and then the merchandise, show you what sort of merchandise we have on our storefront. And then one of the things we want to do is prior to that is just go through what we have accomplished in the last 2 weeks and our timeline to mainnet. So let's go ahead and talk about that. I don't know if I'm live or not. I don't see any messages on the chat. So if somebody can message me on the chat, that'll be great. I guess it takes some time to get the message out, but okay, great. So I am live. All right, good. Yeah. So let me talk about the mainnet and some of the things that we are working on. So let's go to the browser. Okay. So as you know, through our weekly, we have about 130 issues. We're working on 26 of them. Well, actually, the sprint 5 is last week, and this week we're working on 19. We expect to close 19. We have been working actually most of them last week, so pretty much half and half. There are half that are new ones and half that are old ones that are being pushed out. There's about 107 left. So most of the critical ones are really in the zero chain cores. There are about 38 left. Again, when I say left, these are all being worked on to some extent. But they're not in the sprints because they're not expected to close in one of these sprints. But if you look at some of them, most of them are being worked on, and some of them are optimization, which we can, which basically we'll do last. Like you can see, optimize. So those things we'll do last, but they're on our mainnet schedule. So while 38 may look, like a big number, it's actually not that big in the sense that some of the stuff will be done by one person, and they're right now blocked by a couple of difficult bugs that we talked about, I think, on the weekly, the MPT bug. So that's a kind of a difficult bug to go through because it requires a few days of testing. Few days of load testing. It's not just system test, it's a load test. It cannot be identified in a system test. So that's what gets pushed out, and it's difficult to know how, when that MPD bug will surface. So it's always it always takes a couple of days of testing before we uncover that bug. Then we look at the logs and see what happened, and then we fix it, or we add more logs to understand where the bug is. So it's kind of it's kind of a difficult bug to figure out. You can see, one of the things I want to show you is, so by the way, if you look at, this is the zero chain core. There are other boards which, Go SDK, Blobber, ZeroBox, which is our private repo, which you haven't seen. But as you can see, the ZeroBox is fairly straightforward because they are just APIs, and they're progressing pretty at a good pace, and we expect to finish most of them this month. Then you have ZBox CLI, which is again not that many issues. Z Wallet CLI. We have, and this is the system test. Again, this is going at a pretty good clip as well. So one of the things I want to show you is how many commits we have on a daily basis. So this is, as you can see, this is, let me refresh it. Yeah, so this is basically, these are the commits today. Came in like in an hour, last hour, all these commits. So this is all in the last, as you can see, 6 hours from now. And then if I go more, as you can see, there are commits, this is the past 24 hours, past 20 hours, we have these commits. So it's a lot of activity that's going on a daily basis, which probably you're unaware of, because there are some reports are public, some reports are not, but there's constant activity, and there's a lot of activity. So there's a lot of work that's going on. One other thing I wanted to show you, because there were some questions about where can I track the issues. You can see them, like if I go to a blobber repo, right? You can see issues and pull requests. And if you look at the pull requests, there's like about 11 of them. Obviously, some of them are kind of bot generated. That's because you're generating a build. But the other ones are related to an issue. So these are essentially like 6 open issues that are being worked on. And as you can see, there are 19 issues, but some of them are post mainnet. So if you remove these post mainnet, you can see there's about 13 issues, but quite a few of them are already PRs that are open, but they need to close. Same thing you can do for like looking at Go SDK or Zbox CLI or ZWallet CLI. So you can verify for yourself, what sort of issues we're working on and tracking and so forth. So we're pretty transparent about that. And, if you know how to operate the GitHub, you can take a look at the issues and PRs and get a feel for where things close. The primary reason, most of the blockers have been sorted out. There are a few things that we are working on that are critical. I would say they expect, to close this month. And then, the timeline would be more straightforward, and we can even put a clock out for mainnet launch. So that's kind of the goal, and toward getting the mainnet to have a timeline to get the mainnet out. It's difficult to have a deterministic timeline until we get some of the bugs resolved. As I said, the MPT bug is a big one. And then there is a transaction fee PR that we need to close, which I think will be also another big PR that needs to merge. We have also a couple of PRs that are done that's going through testing that will be closing probably this week. So there was a lot of activity that probably will get solidified this week, and then next week we can start getting a little bit more confidence into the timeline. The other thing is that I know I told you guys. I told you guys that I will basically showcase the apps on the demo network. And that's something we are working on. We are putting all the apps, and we're reviewing the apps. We ran into some issues, DevOps issues, because we're changing the domain and things like that. So it'll get sorted out this week. And we're also progressing now toward having automated tests for all these apps, so that, one of the things we are observing is that a new PR kind of breaks the old app, and so we don't have we need to have system tests for production release, but even for demo release we're gonna do some automated testing prior to release. So that's why we're gonna delay the release of the demo apps probably by a week to 2 weeks, and get some level of automated testing incorporated within our CI/CD, which we already have for our backend, but we don't have it for our front end yet. That was in the plan, and right now we're executing on it in parallel. So that's kind of the summary of what I want to say about the mainnet, the apps, of all the work that's going on. And now what I want to talk about is the fun stuff, which, we have done it last year, and we waited until now to reveal it. So this is the character, the leaderboard, and the storefront. All right, let's do this. Okay, so let's talk about the storefront. So so this is what our plan is. We will have stickers. So we'll have stickers again. We can have different merchandise, but we will have stickers of our logo. There are 2 different types, and then we'll have T-shirt and a cap. So this is something that we plan to give away as we do these promotions, and there will be giveaway based on leaderboard status or based on trivia that we will engage the community, and or when we do hackathons. So this is something that basically is not where we plan to we don't plan to make money on this. This is something for the community, and we will basically use the storefront as a way to get more activity and brand recognition. The other one is cups, as you can see, mugs, and then again, we have a different color mug that we can put, or a white mug. So that's kind of showing how it's going to be displayed on the mug. We can also do this on a sweatshirt, and something that we haven't done yet, but that's something that we can do. So let's talk about the leaderboard. So this is the leaderboard, and this is something that we're gonna again disclose after this call. We will have this on the site as well. So obviously the first is Züs. As you can see, is the Züs character with the lightning and everything. That if you're a holder of 250,000 tokens, you will get that status. Again, you may get some swags based on that. Crown is the second one. This is the crown that Züs wears. Mount Olympus, Mount Olympus is essentially the residence of Züs and all the gods. So Züs essentially came down from Mount Olympus and started throwing these lightning bolts. So this is the Mount Olympus, 150,000 ZCN tokens. Thunderbolt, this is obviously the lightning stuff, 100,000. Scepter. Okay, so this is I think this is a typo. So this should be this icon. This is the scepter, which is essentially the authority that Züs walks around with, his stick. And then you have eagle, which is a transformation. Züs transforms into eagle for for messages, as a messenger. So that's something it's in the Züs artifacts. Züs in the world of Züs, you have different formations that Züs has. Eagle is one of them. Bull is another one. So this is the bull horn. Bull is another transformation that Züs has done in Greek mythology. Oak is a tree that resembles strength, and that's 10,000 ZCN tokens. We have vase. In Greek, it's very common to have vase in Greek mythology, so that's why we selected it as one of the leaderboard status, 5,000 tokens. And then sandal. All Greek, they all wear sandals, and even Romans do, but this is very common, and something in Greek, they wore sandals. So that's why we chose sandal as the least amount of tokens that you need to get to that status. And there'll be, again, swags for all of these, maybe stickers for these for sandal owners. So that's the leaderboard. I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see memes based out of this, and I'm pretty excited to see that happen in the community. And now let's talk about the character. So let's see. Okay, so we have this character came about after several iterations. We wanted to make the character not too serious. We didn't want to make it too funny, too serious. At the same time, we want to have all the elements of what Züs represents and what Züs represents for our platform. So this is the character. As you can see, it's in a position where it's dictating that, it's dictating privacy, dictating total protection. Züs is a protector it's a protector of evil, right? So protector of, good and basically words of evil. And so this basically is about how Züs is protecting your data, protecting your privacy. And we wanted to make this character come alive and be firm but not too serious looking. So this is the character. Hope you guys like it. There are different versions of it. I think one is with the mouth open, one is without mouth closed. And then this is the GIF, I believe. Let's see. So this is in action as he's throwing down lightning bolts, and Züs essentially came down the mountain and threw down lightning bolts, and we have all these apps as a result, right? So we have Bolt app, we have Vault, we have Atlas, we have Chemni, we have Blimp, we have Chalk. So Züs kind of made all these apps come out of the sky. Züs is the god of sky, and so this is this is basically the storyline. We also have I believe we have a faster one here. So there are two different versions of GIF, and then the MP3 player. So this is a faster one. So it really depends which one will get people excited. So that's pretty much our character. We have we also have MP4 versions, which people can use to create different. They can slow it down, they can speed it up, and so forth. All right. All right. So that's all that I have for today, actually. So now I'll open the floor to questions, and look forward to answering your questions. I see some questions from Tiago. That's from the community. I think, do the recent stock issues worry you and the team? Yes, of course it does, but we got to move toward a solution that we can identify these bugs more readily. So we're trying to create right tests that would enable us to identify these bugs. But unfortunately, even if we write tests, we have to iterate this like a million times, because this is not something you can catch easily. So you have to run this test for a period of time, and that takes 1 or 2 days. So the cycle of bug fixing is a little bit longer. And these are, by the way, newer bugs that are introduced by newer PRs. So and it's not easy to find these bugs. Could there be issues with the blockchain design? It's not per se a blockchain design. We have several developers working on our core, so when they push a PR that doesn't passes system test, but somehow it has an effect on the MPT because they did something wrong, then it's hard to find that bug. So it's not a blockchain design. but we need a proper test framework to capture these bugs. It's not a simple thing to write tests as well, because also, when you write these tests, they take longer, right? So it's writing code is one thing, writing a test platform takes 2x or 3 times longer. So and development is like that. We are test driven development. We are trying to abide by test-driven development, and test-driven development takes a little bit longer than if you were to just have it out there, and we cannot have it out there for blockchain type projects. Yeah, so are we still on track for launching end of March? I think I went through the timeline, and based on what I'm seeing on some of the results that we're getting, we think we can still make the 31st timeline. So we will update you on a weekly basis. I think the weeklies are there to kind of be transparent about where we are, and we will, if we are moving past the 31st timeline, we will let you know. Again, we will also, I think the end of the month will probably be in a good shape to have a countdown clock. So that will give us some, this month, I think it's critical to get some clarity on some of the critical issues. Once we are past that, then most of this other stuff is more optimization or fixing little bugs. So as I said, there are like few critical issues that needs to be closed this month, and we can get more clarity on the final date, and then we will put it on the website. All right, can we get a step-by-step, SD asks, can we get a step-by-step explanation how the rewards will be distributed for blobbers and miners, block-based or time-based? How will this happen from practical point of view? Can you explain the example? Yeah, I mean, what we can do is maybe this is something that we can have a separate AMA for this, but the discussion or a video basically. But the rewards, I mean, most of it is actually talked about on the paper, token economics paper, and also on the website, which is probably more clear than the paper, because the paper is a little bit more complex. But the element is this: you have a block. Each block that we generate, we basically give out rewards. The rewards are given to miners, sharders, and blobbers. The miner sharder is pretty straightforward. The miner who generates gets the reward, and he splits the reward, the miner sharder reward, with all the sharders. And so it's important that you're a good miner, you're in a good data center, and your server is good in order to generate generate blocks and this, by the way, this is all random. So miner gets chosen to generate a block, and if you are a good miner, your block should go through, and therefore the probability that you will get X number of tokens from the over the year is going to be about the same with the other miners, unless they're bunched up in one location, which happened in our active set testing, where all the current active set testers are in the US. So their miners are generating more blocks than the US miners. So, but that won't happen because we will have more parity between US and Europe miners. In terms of the blobbers, it's a little bit more complex. The blobbers get rewarded if you stake more, if you are if you have data on your server, and if you have a good write price. So write price needs to be non-zero. Your read price needs to be close to zero or zero to get chosen for the reward. And then you need to have good write-read ratio, and that's pretty much saying that you're not going to game your server to read or write, and then you will receive your rewards like you would based on how much data is stored on the network. So let's say the data stored on the network is 1 petabyte, and within a specific period. So let's say the data stored on the network is 1 petabyte, and you join in, you'll still get rewards because it really depends on the window. So let's say from the moment you join as a blobber, you basically start getting rewards if your server is getting data on it, right? So if a consumption, let's say you have a client who is putting data on your server, then you will get rewarded within that period. So we look at the period of time and we compare your performance, your blobber performance, with respect to other blobbers within that period of time, and then we reward you. Okay, so it's a very dynamic reward based on how well you're scaling on the network, how well you're doing. And you can join in at any time, and it really depends on that period of time where you're getting data from people. That's when the reward happens. Okay. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but you can read up more details on the token economics paper, and I think we will refresh that paper probably next week sometime. So you will get it has a nicer look and nicer pictures this time. So and if you have any more questions, so let us know. We'll probably write. We'll have somebody kind of explain. We'll probably do a video and a simulation of how it all works, and then maybe that can give you a more practical point of view. The mechanics. The other thing is that we can. If you look at our page, if you look at our earn page, it talks about all the different ways the how the blobber reward will affect you, like the number of blobbers, how much data is stored, and so forth. So it gives you kind of a basic idea of how much you will earn. We expect, and you can look at, that earn page also talks about, I think, let me go to the browser quickly. So if you look at Züs network and you go to the earn page, you can see this, you can see the calculator. You can see, these are the number of rewards available. And then you can see number of blobbers on the network. What is your price discount? The assumption here is that 0 read price, so you're already eligible to get the highest. And then, how much server capacity you have staked. So the more you stake, the more you will earn. And this is your earning potential. And then, what's the return on the principal? So this is how much you would make on your return if you were to invest, or if you were to put in X number of tokens. Okay. All right. So yeah, so there are 3 rewards for the blobbers. I should mention, I think that was your next question. There is, most of the rewards are, so there's a network-based reward. So what I just talked to you about, like each block, you get a reward as a blobber, is a network giving you a reward. The other income is coming from the client. So if I'm the client, I'm paying you as a blobber to store my data based on your right price. And that is directly coming from the client. So you get basically that income regardless. So if you have a client who's paying for your storage today, then you can, then basically they will be paying for that storage directly to you. And you will earn that storage income. Now, part of the storage income goes to the validator. It's about 2.5%. And whoever is a storage provider, let's say you are a blobber, you're a storage provider, you're automatically a validator on the network. So you're validating other people's servers. So you get income, this 2.5% income you get from the other validation that you provide for other storage providers. So you get income, validator income that way. But it's coming from the client. Okay, Tiago, is there any plan of onboarding, partnering with NFT project to showcase the possibility of Chalk? Yes, of course, we will, we have several customers that are interested in the demo. So we're just not, as I said, once we demo this, once we have it out, then we will reach out to those customers and have them go through it. We just don't want to waste their time right now. And the same thing, we don't want to waste community time. And also we don't want to get into a feedback where we're fixing bugs, which we should have fixed before it came on the, before it's live on the community. At least most of the bugs, there won't be 100% bug free, but we expect like 99% of the bugs to be bug free. Another question from Tiago, is the storage solution for NFT compatible with other chains? For instance, the NFT was minted on Ethereum but is stored in Züs. Yeah, I mean, when we talk about the minting, we don't mint on our platform. It's all done on either Ethereum or on Polygon. So we haven't incorporated Solana yet, but basically we're providing two options for people to mint either on Ethereum or Solana. So, Ethereum and Polygon. So it's not on Züs. Züs is basically only for storing the data, visualizing the data, and giving a backstory to the NFT. So when you look at an NFT, let's say I look at an NFT on OpenSea, they will see the image coming from ZeroBox as a URL that will pull the thumbnail. But when you go to Chalk, you will see the backstory. You will see additional images for that NFT, perhaps a video, and so forth. So because we allow people to add more data to that NFT. So think of the NFT as a folder. So we allow people to add more images, more material, more files to that folder. This could be, audio file, this could be a video file or whatever, to enhance the story of the NFT. It could be telling what the NFT is about, the artist communicating with their audience what the NFT is about, how they came up with that final artwork. They can also show progression of images to that final art piece. So it's really for artists to communicate their thoughts that went into creating that NFT. And that's what that's what we did Chalk for, because we, there was a missing element to the NFT about the context behind the NFT. The context is missing, and the context is a big part, because context is what makes the NFT have value. And if you can provide a way to enhance the context about the NFT, then the NFT has value. Because at the end of the day, NFT is just an identity of an art piece. But it is a representative of an art piece, but it's also the thought process, what went into it, that captures the value of it. So that's what we have done with Chalk. It's a need in the industry that nobody provides it. This is something only we will provide. This is unique to Züs. Last question is, are there any new partnerships in the works as you work towards mainnet? Yes, I mean, we will announce these partnerships, by the way. Most of them are hackathons. Also, we will have partnerships with agencies. These are, blockchain development companies. We will have some influencers as well talk about our product. So that's all in the works, and that will come out once we have the product release. We will start executing that. In fact, for the hackathons, I think we will start before mainnet. Same thing with the influencers, we'll start before mainnet. So we won't wait for the mainnet to be live in order to start hackathon or have the influencers talk about our products. So this could be basically timed, in conjunction with our countdown to mainnet, if that makes sense. We haven't figured out how we're gonna do it, because we're still executing on getting all these partnerships in place. All right, so I think that's the end of all the questions, and I hope answered. Some of them were on rewards, which is kind of a little bit complex on the blobber side, but I hope I answered them. And I think once we will probably do a simulation video of what could happen, that may further give you some insight into what you can earn as a blobber. But note that, one thing you should note as a blobber, that if you have a customer in mind, let's say I have a customer, I'm an MSP, a managed storage service provider, and I have like 10 customers putting data on AWS today, and I move them over to the decentralized storage, and I'm a provider, right? I'm a blobber, and I'm using Chemni to scale these servers. So I have 10 servers. Then I should expect income. I should expect storage income based on which I didn't have before. Before, AWS was essentially getting all the storage income from the client, but now I'm getting part of the income because I'm putting some of the data on my servers. So for that, you have essentially a guaranteed income source for your client storage. In addition to that, you're basically getting network rewards and validation rewards because you're validating other people's storage. So if you think of it that way, then essentially you will earn a high APR regardless whether because if you already have a server, if you already have a data center, your cost is almost zero. If you already have a cabinet, you have power, space, then all you're doing is investing in a storage server, putting it in the cabinet and turning it on and joining the network and putting your client storage on that network. So it's a good way to earn a living. So I don't know if that clarifies, but I think it crystallizes, like if you're an MSP, you should be using Züs because it's madness if you don't use Züs, because you're giving that income to the traditional cloud. All right, so that's all for today. Thank you very much for joining, and I hope to see you again in a couple of weeks. Hopefully in a couple of weeks we will release the apps, so I'll be excited to show them to you. And that's kind of the target right now. In 2 weeks we will have the apps out. These apps hopefully will be to be somewhat automated, tested, and then we also will have a better timeline on, and we will do this on a weekly basis, but we'll have a better timeline on the mainnet, whether the 31st will hold or not. But we're marching towards the 31st, and that's our plan, and that's our goal right now. All right. Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining, and I hope to see you again in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.